You're listening to AI Prism from Seoul Economic Daily.
It's Wednesday, May 13. I'd like to share some thoughts about Startup Founder. Today, we're diving into a stack of recent reporting from Seoul Economic Daily to really decode what these big corporate moves mean for you as a founder.
Right, and there is this pretty wild signal right out of the gate. Almost 80% of institutional investors just looked at this massive AI IPO and basically legally locked themselves out of selling it.
Yeah, they restricted themselves. And the reason is they're betting the real money isn't in, simple AI chat tools anymore. It's moving into the physical world.
Exactly. So that IPO belongs to Makinarocks, and they pulled in a staggering 13.87 trillion won, which is roughly $10 billion in subscriptions.
Wow, 10 billion.
Yeah, it's huge. But as you hinted at, the metric you really need to watch is that 78.2% institutional lockup rate. I mean, these investors aren't just trading on momentum. They're making a long-term thesis bet that industrial AI is going to function as a true operating system.
Let's clarify what that actually means on the factory floor for a second.
Yeah.
'Cause we're not talking about like a smart spell checker or a data dashboard for a manager.
No.
An industrial AI operating system is deeply integrated. It's controlling the machinery, predicts maintenance. It practically runs the entire physical infrastructure.
Precisely. The market is assigning this massive premium to software that actually dictates physical outcomes. And that public market validation for operating systems is now pushing massive conglomerates to, validate physical AI in their own operations.
Like Lotte Innovate?
Yes, Lotte Innovate is actively launching these humanoid robot pilots alongside Lotte Global Logistics and Lotte World. And the stakes here are enormous. Grandview Research projects the global physical AI market will grow from $81.6 billion in 2025 all the way to $960.3 billion by 2033.
Okay, wait, let me jump in and push back on this a bit. Because if you're a bootstrap founder tuning in, hardware is it's incredibly capital intensive. Are we genuinely suggesting a small startup try to outbuild a giant like Lotte on robotics?
Oh, absolutely not. No, competing on hardware against conglomerates is just a losing game. The hardware will eventually commoditize. For startups, the real playbook is about monopolizing niche operational data.
So finding a very specific workflow.
Exactly. You have this maybe 12 to 24-month window to lock down the highly specific, really messy know-how of, say, a warehouse worker. That builds an irreplaceable moat before the giants just try to M&A their way into that workflow.
Okay, so you captured the specialized data, but you still need a way to process the actual commercial transactions happening in those physical spaces. Which brings us to Kakao Pay.
Right.
They are targeting 10 million offline users by 2027 with a new table QR service, and they're participating in the Buy 402 Foundation.
And that Buy 402 Foundation is crucial. It's basically an initiative for AI agent payments.
Meaning your AI assistant could directly pay another AI assistant.
Exactly. But if you're a B2B founder building point-of-sale systems, Kakao's offline push is a massive threat. We're calling it the QR squeeze. Kakao is bundling free QR order software right alongside their payment processing.
Meaning, if you're selling basic POS software, your core product just became someone else's free feature.
Yeah, it's brutal. My advice to founders in the POS space is to pivot immediately to high-friction niches. You just can't beat Kakao's distribution, so go where a simple QR code isn't enough.
Right. Think highly regulated areas like healthcare compliance or legal services.
Exactly.
And, if you do build robust infrastructure locally, the next logical step is exporting it. LG Uplus is taking its AI assistant ixi-O into Malaysia as a software-as-a-service model.
Yeah, but notice they aren't going it alone. They're partnering with Maxis, the local telco. It is the ultimate go-to-market template for Southeast Asia.
Because you don't want to build a foreign sales team from scratch.
Precisely. You partner with incumbent telcos to leverage their local trust. You localize to the colloquial language, and critically, you ensure on-device processing. Data sovereignty is non-negotiable there.
But taking enterprise AI into regulated spaces globally means you have to prove how the AI is actually making its decisions. Professor Lee Soo-in at the University of Washington laid out this strict, explainable AI, or XAI, framework for this.
Yes, and her key distinction is that process transparency is not true explainability.
Just showing the sequential steps the model took isn't enough.
Right. An auditor or a medical professional needs verifiable grounds that a human expert can actually assess. It is rapidly becoming a strict sales requirement.
I love that distinction. So the chain of thought is just showing your math, but XAI is actually proving the theorem to the auditor.
That's a great way to frame it. And just as trustworthy software requires rigorous proof, the massive compute loads powering all these AI agents require sustainable physical infrastructure. You can't run these models on thin air.
Which brings us to the raw materials. LS Cable just opened a 45 billion won, which is 32.5 million US dollars recycled copper factory.
Yeah, producing that new material called CuFlake.
Right, a recycled copper alternative that dramatically lowers hardware costs. And this comes right after they scored a 700 billion won, or 505 million US dollar contract to supply US data centers.
This creates incredible startup opportunities in the green materials supply chain. Upstream, we desperately need scrap logistics software to efficiently feed discarded cables into factories like this.
And downstream.
Downstream, there is a wide open market for materials substitution startups building on top of products like CuFlake.
It really all comes full circle. We started with digital AI operating systems and ended up at the recycled copper powering the servers they run on. Which leaves you with this final thought to chew on.
If conglomerates are inevitably going to dominate both the hardware and the raw foundational AI models, maybe your ultimate startup moat isn't your software at all.
Right. Maybe your software is just the bait you use to build an irreplaceable physical supply chain network that no giant can easily disrupt.
That's today's AI Prism, Startup Founder. This episode was produced with AI assistance based on Seoul Economic Daily reporting and reviewed by a human editor. AI Prism is a Wan Ifrey award-winning series. We'll be back tomorrow.
You've been listening to AI Prism from Seoul Economic Daily.